Recently, BundleStar's released a bundle consisting entirely of simulation games. Because I am stupid and bad with money, I purchased this. I know what you're probably thinking. Turbo, why? I don't know. But we're going to look at Woodcutter Simulator first. Alright, this doesn't look so bad. The menu works, and that's more than I can say for other bundle games that I've gotten in the past. Tutorial? Yeah, I bet being a woodcutter's a pretty tough job. We should watch the tutorial first, that way we know what to do. And there's no sound. Nothing. No voiceovers or really even text, just little blurbs. Just a grainy video of someone moving the mouse cursor around the screen. They don't even really play the game, they just describe what the buttons do while this awful music keeps droning behind me. All it does is point at things and give a little... Is that an FPS counter? They didn't even try! Fuck it, who cares? How hard can this be? I can't figure out how to move the camera! So get this. W moves forward, S moves back. That's pretty standard. So how do I turn my character? A? No. D? No. Mouse? No. Scroll along the side of the screen? No. Oh, of course. Right, you hold down the right mouse button and spin. Of course. What was I thinking? Now, I understand that things like this are pretty standard in, for example, MMOs where you have a UI that you need to click on. But why is the default that I hold down a button to spin instead of holding down a button to click on things, as is the standard everywhere else? But it doesn't matter. I've got trees to murder. Let's get to it. After a few minutes bumbling around trying to get around the invisible walls... By the way, did I mention the starting area is covered in invisible walls? I find a tree. You are not in the right position. What the fuck does that even mean? Is standing up not good enough? Am I supposed to pull some kind of pose? Is this yoga woodcutting? Apparently you're supposed to take missions in the journal in order to cut things down. This directs you to a certain place on the minimap, and from there you start cutting trees. At first you only have the chainsaw on your feet, which is pretty slow. Surprisingly, this game has a decent sized map, which is great if I had some kind of transportation, but I lack the funds to buy vehicles this early in the game. Other than the chainsaw, which apparently is a vehicle according to the developers. I'm not a lumberjack, but I don't think that counts. It took me a solid 4 minutes on foot to ever even reach the first objective and cut down my first tree. Except you don't do the cutting. An animation plays and that's it. I'm not doing this at all, it's entirely being done for me. What is the point of a woodcutting simulator where I don't actually get to cut a fucking tree down? This is the one solitary thing in the game that someone might actually be excited to try doing, and they fuck it up. And this happens every time you cut one down, too. Take a gamble on how fast that gets old. Also, can I point out how impossibly lazy they were on this anyway? You'd think that cutting trees down would be a major focus point of this game, but they didn't even try. They literally paint the texture a slightly darker color to represent your cutting, and didn't even bother doing that on the tree marker. At first I thought maybe this was just the first mission being dull, but I looked at the reward. 12,000. Combined with the starting money, I would be at 40,000, which is a little bit over half of what I would need to get the first woodcutting vehicle. It would take me a good hour to even get to it. This game sucks. Next up, we have Agricultural Simulator, Historical Farming. If you've ever heard of Farming Simulator, this is basically the same concept, just with everything fun removed, like technology, and electricity, and anything that you would actually want to use. Let's take a look. Right off the bat, the first thing that I realized is the tutorial system is exactly the same. It's just videos. There's no gameplay or anything like that. Except this time, there's at least 3 times as many. No, fuck that. Not happening. Right into the game then, and we run into the exact same issue. What the fuck are the controls? At least looking around was gotten right this time, as it's just moving the mouse, but I literally have no idea how to get into a vehicle. Even better, I actually checked the options. It doesn't say. Whatever key does mount you onto a vehicle, you can't change it. It honestly got to the point where I just started pressing buttons until something happened, and I eventually somehow got on it. But from there, the game just offers absolutely no guidance. Now, I know I skipped the tutorials, but what's the deal here? What's the goal? The game offers no advice or missions or absolutely anything other than a tractor and a couple of animals in your farm, so I don't have a lot to go on. Even all of the land doesn't have any markings, and I sure as hell don't see anything or anywhere to farm. Also, I broke the pigs. They haven't actually moved since I ran them over. And that about sums up my experience in historical farming. The game never actually shows you a goal or even any gameplay, so I had no clue what to do. Eventually I found out that pressing Z dismounts vehicles, but I honestly couldn't figure out how to get back onto it. I pressed every button on my keyboard and clicked every key on my mouse. Nothing. I gave up. Woodcutting and Agricultural Simulator. Not the best of games, but I can understand why they were made. Those are two careers that people can't usually just go out and get. The next game, though, I'm not so sure about. Warehouse and Logistics Simulator. Big box retail stores hire for this all the time. Pretty much anyone can get this job. So why a game based on it? Let's take a look. Right upon starting the game, I noticed a distinct lack of a certain ugly feature that the other games had. No tutorial videos. In fact, there doesn't seem to be a tutorial at all. We're just gonna jump right into the game then. Instantly, it's easy to see that this game is much better designed than the previous ones. The controls function fine, they make sense, and there's the ability to press F1 to just see what they are instead of having to dig through the options window to find them. In Warehouse and Logistics Simulator, you're given the job of carrying pallets from one location to the other. And that's it. I mean, what else did you expect? That's it's exactly what it says on the box. See? Here, look at it. The game has several different levels, each one a different location, such as grocery stores, warehouses, and construction sites, so it's a pretty decent variety and you don't really get bored of one. Each one offers a different challenge, like dodging the cash registers to bring things out to the parking lot, or having to manipulate a forklift to different tiers on a shelf in the warehouse. At first I thought I was trying to dodge the people, assuming that there was a penalty for hitting them, but no. You just pass right through them without harming them. The real challenge comes from, well, the pretty bad physics on items. The pallets in Warehouse Simulator just don't seem to have any actual weight to them, and are able to be nudged and pushed as much as you want. Even while just turning the forklift, they have a chance to slip off and hit the ground. More than once I would have items that just fell off because they seem to have no real weight, falling over on their side and exploding. Great. Think that this game just explodes when they fall on their sides. The actual point is that you're timed on all of these missions, but just like Woodcutting Simulator, the time you're given is far, far more than you really need. Supposedly you lose points when you damage the products, but the items seem to only have two stages, find and destroyed, so nothing really seems to cost me points. Also, I didn't know they made bags of JPEG artifacts. Good to know. I don't really have a lot of bad things to say about this game, truth be told. It's exactly what it says it is, warehouse simulation. You move things around with a forklift. It's certainly not something I would play on a regular basis, but if this is the kind of game you like to play, well, here it is. And it works well. Unlike the other two games in this bundle, Warehouse and Logistics Simulator is easy to understand, has a clear focus, and controls that actually work. It isn't a bad game, it just isn't for me. And that's really all I had to say about Warehouse and Logistics Simulator. There's no way I would pay $15 for it, which is what it sells for on Steam, but I got it for something like less than 50 cents in the bundle. Still probably not worth it, but it's also not my kind of game. Well, there is one other thing to mention. Hell's Warehouse is a DLC that was released alongside of the base game's release on Steam. In it, the levels have been modified to contain waves of zombies, barricades you have to dodge, grimy textures, and power-ups that are almost entirely in the form of explosives. This is not a mod, or anything created by fans. This is produced as an actual paid DLC for the game by its developer. Do you realize that for something like this to exist, someone who does this for a living had to approach their boss and say, "Hey, you know that game that we made about warehouses and riding forklifts? What if we added zombies to it? Fund it!" Hell's Warehouse adds several new game types to the game. You have Campaign, Survival, and Quest, all of which have different objectives. Campaign is really more of a racing mode than it is an actual campaign. The locations from the base game are here, but with different areas and aisles blocked off, creating a track that you have to follow. Here, you have to get from the starting point to the end of the track without the zombies damaging your vehicle. Basically more of a time trial mode. Honestly, it's pretty boring. You drive faster than the zombies run, so assuming you don't get caught on something due to bad collision detection, you won't take any damage. Unfortunately, that happens pretty often. Speaking of collision detection, they added some to the civilians, or I guess they're zombies now. And can I just say that, wow, this is violent. Really, this is pretty gory for a game like this. It's not a bad thing at all, I just honestly wasn't expecting it. Next is Survival, which I personally think is the best idea. In theory, anyway. In Survival, you're given free reign over the location you choose, which is filled with pallets and power-ups. The idea here is that you have to barricade yourself into an area and use power-ups to survive as long as you can. This is one of the game modes where the bad physics, which I would swear got worse in this DLC, is really crippling. I tried several times to complete this game type, but I could never even get it to start, because I would always have some stupid error like this keep me from doing anything. Then you have other maps where it's just plain too vague. Look at this. What do I barricade? There's nowhere for me to hide and hole myself in. Where do the zombies come from? It's a wide open area. What the hell am I supposed to defend? Last we have quest mode, which is the base game mechanics but now with zombies added. You pick up pallets and move them somewhere else. Just like survival, it's nearly impossible due to the physics. Since collision detection was now added to the zombies, and the physics on the pallets is already shitty to begin with, it's a total clusterfuck. Ramming zombies almost always results in the pallets simply being knocked off, but running them over is the only way to really take care of them on a regular basis. There's power-ups, but they're so spread out and so ineffective that you can't really rely on them. Even if somehow I did manage to make it to the location with the pallet, I can't stop and drop it without getting mobbed, so I don't have any way to actually complete the objective. Just like survival, this is one game mode I can't play. Some of the developers' ideas aren't horrible, but it absolutely feels like they were just trying to cash in on the sheer absurdity of the DLC, rather than produce something actually interesting. The physics suck, and it just makes everything in the game incredibly hard or impossible. The difficulty in a game shouldn't come from how shitty it is. If the actual gameplay wasn't so buggy, this would be a different, unique take on the zombie genre. Barricading yourself in with a forklift and pallets in a grocery store would actually be pretty fun, I feel. But as it stands, no. This is just shit. Hey guys, thanks for watching. This is my first time really doing anything with video editing or reviewing, so I would appreciate your comments below. I will try to answer every single one. Also think about subscribing, that would be really cool. I should have another one out soon. Take care, and remember, don't fuck your pets!